What's up, my comic comrades? I've been pretty vocal on the show over the past several years about how much I love me some anime. We've actually done several episodes on anime characters, including characters from Dragon Ball Z, My Hero Academia, and One Punch Man. With that said, we thought it'd be fun to count down the top 10 anime heroes. Now, I will add, while I do enjoy a good amount of anime, admittedly, I'm not nearly as well versed in anime or manga as I am with comic books. So to some of you die-hard anime lovers, this may feel a bit surface level, because let's be honest, you can get pretty deep with anime characters, as there's tons of them. But for the most part, I personally tend to be drawn to some of the more modern stuff as well as the characters I grew up with. But before we take a look at our list of the 10 best anime heroes of all time, I do quickly want to remind you guys about the Key Collector Comics app. Basically, if you love collecting comics like I do and want an easy way to find first appearances and key issues of your favorite characters and comic book titles, this is the best way I found to do so. I use it all the time. The app also tells you what issues are rising in value so you can stay ahead of the curve. So whether you're a collector or not, it's a database and resource for comic characters and titles. It's available for iOS and Android, and if you type in the promo code Arris after clicking their welcome tab, it will unlock the full app for 1 free week. After that, it's only $1.99 a month. We'll put the link in the description for those of you interested. But now, my friends, let's count down some anime heroes. Kicking off the list is Edward Elric from Full Metal Alchemist. Now, it's no shocker that Edward made the list. I mean, he's a prodigy in alchemy. You know, the magical process of transformation, creation, or combination. Yeah, mix that with being a talented fighter and having a cool robotic arm and leg called Automail, and at first glance, you have a freaking awesome character. But it's his cool backstory that just solidifies that. You see, when he was using his alchemy to bring his mother back from the dead, he lost his leg, and then his right arm was taken from him in exchange for his brother's soul. But it gets better. His brother Alphonse was brought back to life, but not in his original body. Instead, he was spiritually bound to a suit of armor. So together, Edward and Alphonse searched the world for the Philosopher's Stone with the hopes of being able to restore their bodies. And yes, I know, alchemy, Philosopher's Stone, there's lots of Harry Potter parallels here. But either way, this is one awesome anime that is centered around a character who is remarkable in combat as well as a master of alchemy with 2 robotic limbs. That's just awesome. Next up, we have Monkey D. Luffy from One Piece. Now, there's a good reason why One Piece is such a popular anime, and that's because Monkey D. Luffy is such a cool character. He's the founder of the powerful Straw Hat Pirates. Luffy's dream is to become the Pirate King by finding the legendary treasure called One Piece, as it's said to have unimaginable value. Like a lot of protagonists in anime, he's usually happy and kind of goofy, but one of the main reasons I like his character so much is because his power is freaking dope, which is the ability to stretch his limbs. Now, at this point, you're like, what? You think having the same power as Mr. Fantastic and Plastic Man is what makes him so cool? And yes, because the way he uses his rubberiness is way cooler than most of the ways Marvel has portrayed Mr. Fantastic's and DC has portrayed Plastic Man's. Said rubberiness is a result of eating a devil fruit named Gum Gum Fruit. He uses his stretching gum-like abilities to basically accelerate all of his body, or just limbs, to deliver extremely fast punches, kicks, body checks, and so on. What I'm saying is, he makes himself into a human slingshot, and at the same time, he could also increase the size of his limbs. So imagine a wrecking ball-sized fist being slingshotted at you. It's easily one of the coolest ways I've ever seen a character use their stretching abilities. But that's not all. The Gum Gum Fruit also gives him incredible strength, speed, agility, reflexes, endurance, and stamina. All of the above giving Luffy some of the coolest action scenes in anime. So it's easy to see why he's on the list. Up next, we have Ichigo Kurosaki from Bleach. Putting it simply, Ichigo is a teenager who becomes a substitute Soul Reaper after Rukia stabs him in the heart, because once she did this, he took her powers in order to protect his family and Rukia from the Hollow. But over the course of the show, Ichigo would get his own Soul Reaper powers. Now, you may be asking, what is a Soul Reaper? Well, they're basically death gods. They guide souls to the Soul Society, which is essentially the afterlife. They do this to protect said souls from the Hollows, which are souls that didn't make it to Soul Society and have basically turned into demons. All in all, Ichigo is easily one of the coolest anime protagonists out there. I mean, he has vast supernatural powers, he's a master swordsman, master combatant, has super strength, he's a death god who deals with the supernatural, and has a ridiculously cool sword and tons of spiritual-like abilities. Not to mention his English dub voice is done by Johnny Bosch, aka Adam, the second Black Mighty Morphin Power Ranger. At number 7, we have Alucard from Hellsing. Now, this is definitely the darkest character on the list, and that's because Alucard is Dracula himself. Literally, the name Alucard is Dracula spelt backwards. Now, you may be saying, how is Dracula a hero or protagonist? Well, he's the protagonist of the series, as he's hired by the Hellsing organization as their #1 weapon to fight all other vampires and creatures of the night. Why does he kill other vampires if he's a vampire himself? Well, he essentially sees all other vampires as a cheap imitation, as he's the OG, being Dracula and all. As we know, there's countless versions and retellings of Dracula, and this is one of the coolest in my personal opinion, up there with the Dracula from the Castlevania Netflix series. The only reason why that's not on the list is because that's technically not an anime, as the animation wasn't done in Japan. As for Alucard, not only is his backstory cool, he's extremely terrifying and powerful. Here's a fraction of his powers: enhanced durability, regeneration, intangibility, immortality, hemokinesis, soul absorption, shapeshifting, daywalking, hypnosis, telekinesis, weather control, supernatural detection, telepathy, superhuman strength, speed, and reflexes, and the list keeps going on, and now I'm out of breath. What I'm saying is, he's one of the coolest versions of Dracula I've ever seen. Here we have Naruto, who's easily one of the most popular anime characters ever. Sure, a lot of his anime is filler, but when it's not, it's freaking awesome. In his younger years, Naruto was exiled from his people, only to become their champion, a hyperactive ninja of the Hidden Leaf Village, ultimately achieving his dream of becoming the 7th Hokage. Hokage translating to Fire Shadow, a title that's given to the village's leader. And like every character on this list, he is extremely powerful. He's a ninja that possesses some crazy abilities, like Shadow Clone Jujutsu or Multi-Shadow Clone Jujutsu. He also has a Sage mode where his speed strength and ability is enhanced. He also has some pretty crazy forms that makes him more powerful. We're talking like almost Goku level power up in here. Some would say the same or even more powerful. You have his 1-tailed form, 3-tailed form, 4-tailed form, 6-tailed, and 8-tailed. Then you have Baiju Sage mode, 6-path Sage mode, 6-path Sage mode, Ashura Baiju Avatar. It gets crazy. You would almost think this guy is a freaking Saiyan. In short, Naruto is one of the most popular anime and anime characters for a reason, with over 700 episodes, meaning there's no way we could leave him off this list. Rounding out the top 5 is Eren Yeager from Attack on Titan. I just started watching this anime in 2018. Some of you may remember I would watch along with you on our Variant Lives. And I have to say, it's now one of my favorites. The main protagonist of the series, Eren, is kind of annoying at first, but he becomes one of the coolest characters of the series. You'll see why in a second. Nonetheless, the fact that he never gives up on his goals to eliminate all Titans because they killed his mother when he was a child makes him extremely formidable. As we all know, the never give up, never say die attitude is what drives so many great anime characters, but what pushes Eren over the edge is that he's a soldier who of course is trained in hand-to-hand combat with maneuvering gear used to fight Titans, but he also possesses the power of 2 of the 9 legendary Titan shifters, the Assault Titan and the Original Titan. In Titan form, he can wreck shop, lifting boulders that weigh several tons. He also has a great healing factor and a hardened body. I still haven't finished season 2, but I'm loving it thus far, and the fact that Eren has come such a long way and now can turn into a Titan himself is pretty dope. Next up, we have All Might from My Hero Academia. All Might has easily become one of my favorite anime characters of all time. If not for Dragon Ball Z, he would be higher on this list. He's the #1 hero in My Hero Academia, possessing a quirk called One for All, which we explain all about in this episode right here. And the reason I like him so much is because he's the standard of what a hero is. So much so, his nickname to the world is the symbol of peace. He's always extremely positive, almost cheesily so, but it works because he's so pure. For instance, I'm gonna give you 2 of my favorite quotes of his. If you feel yourself hitting up against your limit, remember what caused you to clench your fist. Remember why you started down this path, and let that memory carry you beyond your limit. Right? Quote number 2, which is actually one of my favorite quotes in all of anime or comics. When there's nothing to be gained, rising to the challenge at those times is surely the mark of a true hero. Dude, that is so good, and it's why I love superheroes so much. All Might's like the best motivational speaker in the world. Tony Robbins has got nothing on All Might. It also helps that All Might is extremely powerful and has some of the best fighting scenes I've personally ever seen in anime. Texas Smash, anyone? Just making the top 3 is Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z. Funny enough, All Might and Vegeta are voiced by the same person for the English dub. Whether you're a massive anime fan or just a 90s kid, you know who Vegeta is. He's easily one of the most recognizable characters in all of anime, and one of the best at that. This one's villain, who's the prince of the Saiyan race, ultimately turned hero fighting along Goku and the rest of the Z fighters, has one of the best arcs in anime, at least to me. Technically speaking, as far as character development and arc goes, he's better and far more interesting of a character than Goku, even though Goku is the main character of the Dragon Ball franchise. I just love Vegeta's demeanor and how he's kind of a hard ass but has a soft spot deep down and has that entitlement being a prince and feels like he has to prove himself and be the best all the time. But again, he has that soft side deep down that he hates to show, but it comes out every now and then. Ultimately, Goku and Vegeta are the two pillars of the series, whether you're talking about Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, or Dragon Ball Super. What I'm saying is, how could the Prince of Saiyans not make the top 3? At number 2 is an anime my dear friend Bobby recommended to me back in 2016 or 2017. That is One Punch Man. And making the list from One Punch Man is Saitama. I love Saitama in this anime so much because it's basically a parody of all superheroes and animes. Like, the whole point of the show is that Saitama can beat anyone with a single punch. And because he's so powerful and can defeat anyone with a single punch, he's just constantly looking for a thrill or someone that would be a challenge. So if we were to make this list purely on most powerful, he would undoubtedly be number 1. Because almost every anime is about the title character trying to overcome their limits. But Saitama has no limits. Because he's a parody character, the whole point of his existence is to defeat anyone. But not just defeat them with a single punch. Saitama's personality is also hilarious, and he has some freaking dope fight scenes, even though they usually don't last very long. What I'm saying is Saitama is amazing and could definitely defeat Goku. That's right, I went there. And now the riots start in the comment section. At number 1, which should be no shock to any of you, is Goku. Now, even though I think Saitama can defeat Goku, doesn't mean Goku isn't my number 1. Like most of you, I grew up with Goku and Dragon Ball Z. It was actually the first anime I ever watched on Toonami on Cartoon Network. Well, I guess technically Pokemon was the first anime I ever watched, but you guys get the point. It's right up there. Goku, I feel like, is the leader of shonen anime. The dude freaking got a Macy's Thanksgiving Day float. And there's a reason he's so iconic. Because he's a character that stands the test of time, that you can relate with and aspire to be. That happy-go-lucky guy who never gives up and is always down for a good fight. And food. He's always down to eat food. Again, the fact that I followed Goku in the Dragon Ball series the longest is part of the reason why he's my favorite. Goku is the guy who is constantly overcoming limits and obstacles that are thrown his way, always willing to push farther. Which is why we get a new form for Goku like every other week. And as much as us Dragon Ball fans like to joke about how long it takes Goku to power up, it's kind of part of the charm. Also, it's cool to see him reach all these new forms, although I think they've been doing it a little too much lately. Either way, it's always fun and exciting to see him push past and achieve that new level of strength. Like many great heroes, it's inspirational. On that note, SS3 will always be my favorite form. But yes, I think Goku is the greatest anime hero of all time, for all the reasons I mentioned here and all the reasons I expand upon in our History of Goku episode. But this is just my personal 2 cents. Let us know what your list would be in the comment section below. First up for Wednesday, November 20th, we have the Infected Scarab Issue 1. When Jamie Reyes is in trouble, a powerful scarab transforms him into a superhero. Jamie never asked to be the Blue Beetle, but he's been doing his best to live up to the power within. Here we have Batman Superman Issue 4. Even from prison, the Batman who laughs is staying 2 steps ahead of the Caped Crusader and the Man of Steel. His plan to infect heroes and turn them into the dark multiverse versions of themselves is starting to build steam, with Shazam and others already succumbing to his evil toxin. Now we have King Thor Issue 3. All-Father Thor believed the fight with his brother Loki, now empowered by the Necro Sword and more bitter than ever, would be the bloodiest fight of his long life. And finally, we have Absolute Carnage Issue 5. This is the finale to the epic Absolute Carnage event that puts Venom and Carnage to a fight to the death. And that's going to bring another episode of Variant to a close. But if you like this episode, be sure to check out our History of Goku. And if you like the channel, be sure to subscribe. But I'll see you guys next time when I talk about all things comics.